Wait a moment before you scroll. If you use a blue badge, what I'm about to share could affect where you park this week. Many people are getting tickets simply because the rules around them have quietly changed, and most drivers don't even realize it yet. I'll explain what's really happening in clear, simple words so you don't get caught out or fined for a mistake you didn't know you were making. If this kind of information helps you, please subscribe to the channel. I post easy-to-understand updates about parking rules, benefits, and everyday changes that affect people like you. Subscribing helps you stay informed and avoid problems before they happen. The moment you see a headline like this, it's natural to feel uneasy, especially if you rely on a blue badge to get through daily life with a little less stress. For years, the blue badge has represented a clear understanding between disabled drivers and local authorities. Certain freedoms, certain protections, and a sense of predictability. But that sense of predictability is exactly what many people feel is being shaken right now. Across towns and cities, drivers are noticing unfamiliar signs, stricter enforcement, and small wording changes that carry big consequences. What's shocking, most blue badge holders, isn't just one single rule, but how quietly expectations are shifting and how quickly penalties can follow if you don't notice in time. For a long time, many badge holders parked based on habit. You learned which bays were safe, how long you could stay on double yellow lines, when a time clock was needed, and which restrictions didn't apply to you. That routine became part of everyday life. Now people are discovering that routine alone is no longer enough. Councils are adjusting how exemptions work. Private car parks are tightening their own conditions, and enforcement officers are being told to apply rules more strictly. In some places, the rules themselves haven't changed on paper, but the way they are interpreted and enforced absolutely has. That difference is catching people off guard, because the badge in the window no longer guarantees the same outcome it did even a short time ago. One of the biggest surprises for many drivers is how local these changes are. There isn't one single nationwide announcement that everyone heard at once. Instead, adjustments are being introduced area by area, sometimes street by street. A bay that allowed free parking last month may now have additional limits. A retail car park that once accepted blue badges without question may now require registration at a terminal or impose a maximum stay. Drivers are finding out the hard way, not through clear warnings, but through penalty notices left on windscreens. That's where the feeling of shock comes from. It feels sudden, personal, and unfair, especially when you believe you were parking responsibly. Another issue that's causing frustration is signage. Many blue badge holders are discovering that signs have become more detailed and less forgiving. Small print matters more than ever. Time limits are more strictly defined, clocks must be set precisely, and exemptions are no longer assumed. In some areas, stopping on double yellow lines is being scrutinized more closely, especially if there are nearby restrictions related to loading, safety zones, or local traffic management schemes. Drivers who have parked the same way for years are suddenly being told that what was once acceptable now counts as a violation. Even when the law technically hasn't changed, the tolerance level clearly has. Then there's the issue of private parking companies, which is where a lot of confusion and anger is coming from. Blue badge protections apply mainly on public roads and council-run car parks, but private operators set their own rules. Many drivers don't realize this difference until they receive a charge notice in the post. Supermarkets, hospitals, shopping centers, and residential developments often fall under private management, and their conditions can change quickly. Some now require badge holders to register their vehicle on arrival, display the badge in a specific way, or stay within strict time limits that didn't exist before. Missing one step, even unintentionally, can result in a fine that feels completely out of proportion. What makes all of this harder is that many disabled drivers are dealing with mobility issues, pain, fatigue, or cognitive challenges. Reading lengthy signs, searching for terminals, or constantly rechecking time limits is not always easy or even possible. The system increasingly assumes a level of alertness and physical ability that not everyone has. That's why these changes feel so unsettling. They don't just alter parking rules, they change how safe and confident people feel about leaving their homes, attending appointments, or doing everyday tasks. Parking isn't a small detail when it determines whether you can participate in normal life. There's also growing concern about how enforcement officers are using discretion. In the past, many badge holders felt that there was some understanding, some flexibility when genuine mistakes happened. Now, reports suggest that discretion is being used less often. Automated systems, cameras, and strict targets mean that a violation is treated as a violation, regardless of context. A badge that slips slightly out of view, a clock set a few minutes late, or a misunderstanding about a local rule can all lead to penalties. For drivers who already feel vulnerable, this approach feels cold and unforgiving. Another shock for many people is discovering that enforcement can happen faster than expected. In some areas, vehicles are monitored more frequently, and officers don't wait long before issuing a ticket. That quick turnaround leaves little room to correct a mistake, move the car, or explain the situation. It creates a constant sense of pressure, where parking becomes something to worry about, rather than a support designed to help. For some badge holders, that pressure is enough to make them avoid certain areas altogether, limiting their independence even further. All of this raises a bigger question about communication. Many people are asking why changes aren't being explained more clearly and more widely. A small notice on a council website or a new sign on one street isn't enough when the consequences are financial and emotional. Blue badge holders often feel that they are expected to somehow know about updates without being directly informed. That lack of clear communication contributes to the feeling of being caught out rather than fairly warned. When rules affect a vulnerable group, transparency matters more, not less. It's also important to understand that not every place is changing at the same pace or in the same way. Some councils are reviewing parking policies to manage congestion, reduce misuse, or adapt to new traffic patterns. Others are responding to pressure from residents or businesses. These goals may make sense from an administrative point of view, but for badge holders, the experience is fragmented and confusing. You can park legally in one town and be fined for the same behavior in the next. That inconsistency makes planning trips stressful and unpredictable. What's especially difficult is the emotional impact of receiving a fine when you believe you've done nothing wrong. Many badge holders describe feelings of embarrassment, anxiety, and anger. Appealing a ticket takes time, energy, and confidence, and not everyone feels able to challenge a decision, even if they believe it's unfair. Some people pay the fine simply to avoid the stress, which only reinforces the sense that the system is stacked against them. Over time, that erodes trust and makes people feel less supported by the very schemes meant to help them. At the same time, there are voices pushing back, calling for better awareness, clearer signage, and more consistent application of the rules. Advocacy groups are reminding authorities that the blue badge scheme exists to remove barriers, not create new ones. They argue that any changes, even small ones, should be communicated in plain language and with enough notice for people to adjust. They also emphasize the importance of discretion and human judgment, especially when dealing with genuine mistakes, rather than abuse of the system. For blue badge holders, the key takeaway right now is awareness, not panic. The badge still provides important rights, but it can no longer be treated as a universal pass. Reading signs carefully, checking whether a car park is council-run or private, and understanding local variations has become more important than ever. That may feel unfair, but being informed is one of the few ways to protect yourself from unexpected penalties. Knowledge in this situation is a form of self-defense. Ultimately, what's happening now feels like a turning point. Parking rules are becoming more complex, enforcement more rigid, and expectations higher. For many disabled drivers, that shift feels like it's happening without their consent or consideration. The shock isn't just about new rules starting, it's about realizing that a familiar system is quietly changing underneath you. As these adjustments continue, the hope is that authorities remember why the blue badge exists in the first place and ensure that support, clarity, and fairness remain at the heart of parking policy, not just efficiency and control.